Okay. Okay. I was muted on Streamlabs. Okay. Much better now. I'm going to mute my iPad. Okay. I'm adjusting my... I did mute my iPad. I'm very sorry about the echo. That shouldn't happen anymore. If it does, just let me know. I'd like to say good Sunday morning for everyone. I'm going to be doing some watercoloring. Let's see if I can get this a little tighter so my iPad doesn't move quite as much. How's the audio now? Backwoods, thank you for coming. Oh, sorry. Got to move around. Got to sit in a chair. Okay. Good morning. I was actually just pointing out before I got started today that I realized while I was reading my Bible this morning that I was looking back on my life, and I realized that I often do things rather uniquely and backwards. And I'm not saying that to put myself down or anything. It just seems like that's just the way it's been. So my art journey has also been backwards. I'm using a picture right now. I really don't have a way of sharing the picture that I'm using. It is of my horse, Blueberry. And it's on my iPad right now, and that's how I see your comments. So if you would be so kind as to be patient with me, I will do my very best to look at the comments once I have got my sketch down. I'm working on a few things actually with my artistic journey, and that is learning how to not be so good at drawing. I've always been very, very good at drawing. It is not something that I ever needed to work on. It was just something that was there when I was created, and here we are. But as a watercolorist, in that medium, they say that you really should just take it easy on yourself and don't be so particular with your drawing, which is for some a relief, but for me, a struggle. So let me go back to YouTube, make sure you can still see me. How are we doing? Oh, it's much better. Lovely. I'm so grateful. Okay. All right. So I'm using this picture. I really need to start printing my pictures. Does anybody else have that problem on iPhones or on any cell phone? You take pictures and you don't print them and they just stay in your phone for eternity. That's a very bad habit. Okay, I am going to just kind of run with this, and we're just going to go with it. So I'm using Richardson palette. I have a various amount of colors. I'll be all over the place. I really, because of my multiple sclerosis, there really isn't any way for me to organize my thoughts per se. So we're just going to wing it. So ultramarine blue is probably going to be very heavily used. Yellow ochre is going to be heavily used. Raw sienna is going to be heavily used. And, well, really, I can't. Maybe some alizarin crimson is going to be used to tone down the ultramarine blue. And we'll just move forward. Okay. This picture is a picture of my farm. I have just, I'm looking at a book here. This book is authored by Lawrence I think his name is, let me see, go into pages. William B. Lawrence. It was recommended by another artist on YouTube, and since I'm using my phone as the camera, it's really hard for me to look up Lyron, I believe his name. He's in Israel, and he's amazing. And I'll try to go back and do this much better. I'm sorry. So, let's see. Anyway, this book is called Painting Light and Shadows. It's got a lot of good advice that I will use. And the reason that I say it's such a good book is that it tells you in this page, let me see where I am. Let me get my bookmark. Let me see. My bookmark is here. And it's about designing with light. And I've been hearing a lot about simplifying your subjects. And that's where I was talking about drawing. I draw very well, and when it comes to some mediums like acrylic and such, that's an asset, but in watercolor it can make things very complicated, too complicated really. So I'm working on that. I've done this painting before. Let me see if I can find the painting to show you, and I'll show you why I have to do it again. We'll just take out some of my paintings while I look for the painting that I want to show you. If the camera moves, there's nothing I can do about that because it's attached to my craft island and I have to sit in a chair. So I'm just going to rifle through some of my paintings that you can see. This is a more detailed watercolor. I did this in a car. This is my strength to just really do details, or what Bridget O'Connor calls a rendering. I didn't know what it was called. I just was doing it. And then this is one that was much more spontaneous. This is one it was really miraculous, really. I had, let me put it down so it doesn't shake with my hand. This was done just completely with white paper and watercolor paints. And I just asked the Lord to show me what I was supposed to paint. And I just went, psh, 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 psh. Nothing sophisticated here, folks. Just playing with some hard shapes, hard lines, some soft lines, water, some more pigment, more diluted pigment, less pigment, more water, more pigment, less water. That kind of thing is what you do with watercolor, getting used to what you're doing. And so this appeared. And I had again asked the Lord. I am a Christian, as my title of my channel implies. I'm a born-again Christian. So the content that you'll see on my channel is going to be very much Jesus Christ inspired. So when it dried and I realized, I asked a bunch of people, what is this? Do you see anything? Because I was discouraged once again because I had no idea what this was. It just looked like a bunch of gobbledygook. And I called my husband in and I had said to him, I said, honey, what do you see? Do you see anything? And he pointed out a few things. He saw, I don't know what it was right now, but I'm sure he saw sun rays. That was what I was intending with the just swish, swish, swish. So I was like, forget it. I'm done. I don't know what to do. But then my girlfriend, Amy, who is also a born-again Christian, shout out to Amy, fully redeemed. She said she saw what I saw. Now I see other things. I see a little horse here too. Wow, that's amazing. Amy will see this sometime and she'll see that's a horse. Anyway, so when I turned this particular painting diamond shaped with the paper, I saw a lamb. And it took my breath away because Jesus Christ is the Lamb of God. It even looks like he has a crown right here. This painting of Jesus Christ, the Lamb of God, was something that really inspired me to continue to move forward in using this particular medium, but also to incorporate my inspiration and gift giver. I, as a born-again Christian, believe anything good in me is from Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ, in fact, showed me exactly what to paint and what to focus on. And he said, just focus on me, the Lamb of God. Can you think of a more amazing testimony that God would show you? It took my breath away. I'm so glad I landed on this painting. And this was not at all planned. You'll find that nothing on my channel is planned. Mostly none of what I say is planned. And obviously not anything I do is planned because it's just a mess. These are just little things. This is just nothing. This is just looking at watercolor colors and stuff. Oh, I did that one. That was pretty good. And again, too detailed, not really watercolory, more of a rendering. This was pretty good. I liked that one. That was pretty good. That was in 2019. That's when I got into stamping, actually. I got into stamping and collecting inks because of Stampin' Up, which is a wonderful company. Oh, this is one also. This is pretty. Anyway, Stampin' Up had displayed their inks. Their ink pads can be used just like using it for watercolor techniques. So I guess I knew somewhere in my messed up head that I wanted to do watercolor techniques. So I just started to get all of their stamp pads to use the ink as watercolor paint. So again, try to remember what I had said about starting backwards, or doing things backwards. So I then got into this compulsion to buy inks by Stampin' Up. So of course I have all of them. And then of course that led to stamping, and that led to punches, and I don't even want to go into the punches, because if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, you know I smashed my toe pretty good with one of those whale tail punches. Whoo! That was serious, but it's fine now. Okay, so I think I'm trailing off, but that's okay. I want to complete my thought, because it is true that I often, or no, not often, every time I do something, I tend to do it in a backwards progression, and that's so frustrating, I know. So anyway, this is a painting I did with Bridget O'Connor. I am currently in her group, Watercolor in Motion, so I did this with her. When it came to stamps, and my next compulsion was to buy a lot of stamps and make cards and stuff, I didn't understand what I was doing. I just knew that that felt good to me, and so I went with it. So I bought a bunch of stamps, but the reason I went and bought all the stamps is because I realized I could draw every single stamp that I saw on all of these wonderful, beautiful videos that like Jennifer McGuire puts out. I could draw them. I don't really need a stamp. But then I realized, well, that wouldn't be fair, would it? That would be me copying their work. So then came conscience issues. So then I had to buy the stamps that I could actually draw. So yeah. So then it became just, I got trailed off in making cards, and I was successful with that. It was very fun, and I even sold some. Can you believe it? So that worked well for me. That worked really well. And then we're here, and I started realizing, well, wait, I just remembered I didn't want to make cards. I wanted to learn how to watercolor paint. Okay, I'm just going through here so I can see if I can find the painting that I want to show you. This is a drawing I made. Looks like it was in February 21st, 2011. And I was reading the book about drawing from the left side of the brain. And I didn't have a problem with that. That wasn't something that was entirely new to me. Drawing came naturally, but it's only when I did do these practices and studies that I realized, hey, this is not really much of a challenge for me, so let's move forward. You'll find some blue slime. This is from my granddaughter, Allison, because she's all over my craft room these days. So there's that. Oh, this is one of my paintings that I made a long time ago, when I did not have an understanding of how to lift, and in some cases now I still don't have an understanding of how to lift out watercolor, but this was part of my journey to watercolor. Just want to explain things as I riddle through this pile, hoping to find the painting that I wanted. And it's not here. Can you believe that? Isn't that lovely? Okay, so this is a watercolor painting that apparently Bridget said was actually pretty good. And I should go back and really look into reworking this. So this was in 2012. So, okay, I'm gonna look into that. And this is, well, my stars. Just a moment. This is from Hannah. Hannah's a little girl I saw born in a hospital. Oh, well, Amy, you'll see your daughter's painting in this video. How cute. Okay, let me see. I'm sorry, folks. Let me try to, I really got to find this painting so you could see what I'm talking about and why I have to do it again. Let's see. I still have paintings in this book? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I guess we're just going to have to start from scratch here. Doesn't seem to be working out. This is what happens when you don't plan anything, folks. I wish I could show you the painting. I really don't know where it went. It's obviously in some sort of flat place being pressed within books under some heavy piece of flat paper so I don't ruin it. But it is clearly escaping me right now. And that is frustrating, but this is what you happen when you don't plan, folks. This is what happens. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today as I try to find myself around my own room and try to figure out what the Lord is telling me and where He's telling me to go to find this particular watercolor painting. Oh, I was looking in the wrong book. Oh my, there we go. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, everyone. You know, it's funny. When I watch other people's videos and they're doing so much work to keep people happy and involved, they often say they're sorry so much, you know, and I often say out loud even when I'm actually watching them is that please don't say you're sorry. You're doing me such a great service. You're keeping me company. I didn't know what to do today. And then I find myself doing the video and I'm saying I'm sorry. So here's the book. This is Bridget O'Connor and Watercolor Essentials and Watercolor in Motion. You can see it right here. This is the artist that I'm currently working with, and she's teaching me a lot. This is the reference photo from that one that you saw with the lighthouse. Let me just get through these. You don't need to see all this. Now I really want to get going because I've kept you all too long. This is my sheep that I had done. That turned out pretty well. Do you really? Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. I appreciate that. I can see your comments now because I have my iPad in a place now. Hopefully it won't fall down. And I can see you. Thank you. What? I don't want to keep calling you Arts Backroads Art Studio. Do you have a name I can call you? Or I'll just call you Honey. I don't know. So this is a painting I did of my son and my mother-in-law's dog, B2, who has since passed. And I think I was getting closer to what I was looking at as far as trying to loosen up with my drawings and such. And again, this was a figure study by Bridget O'Connor. So that worked out pretty well. Would you believe this painting is not in here? Now I'm frustrated. Oh my gosh. Ridiculous. I did a pretty good job too. I don't know where it is. Well, I'm very upset. I'm so sorry. I said it again. I'm glad you're enjoying my peril over here. Where is that painting? My Lord in heaven, what's going on? Why can't I find it? If I'm not anything, I am amusing. I know I've been told many times, often from husbands, but hey, it counts. Okay, so I hope you can hear me. I am looking through my beautiful bookcase. If you don't subscribe to my channel, go look at my reveal of my new craft room remodel. It's actually finished this time. And I'm on those bookshelves looking through all of my books here, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. As you can see, clearly, very fluid process for me. I can't even imagine why I can't find my paintings. This is very frustrating. You know what's funny is if I would not have gone live today, you wouldn't have seen anything from me. Because I would be, oops, sorry, looking for those paintings. Okay, I'm back. So, I am using a Paul Rubens watercolor block, 300 grams, 100% cotton, for this painting before you. I was really hoping I could find, hi Sherry. Oh, that feels better. Do I follow you, Sherry? If not, I will after this. You know, recently I actually had to get rid of some channels. I just had so many channels, I couldn't find the channels that I was actually interested in watching. So that's crazy. Okay, so I'm working on dry paper. And this is my horse, Blueberry. I don't have a way to show you a picture for Blueberry because I don't have one in print. They're all stuck in my phone. I think I mentioned that before. So now I'm trying to loosen up. So I'm guessing I'm not going to need Blueberry's hooves. So we could just get rid of that. They want, watercolorists say that we're supposed to work more, have loose shapes and objects. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I had done this painting, and if I can find the painting, I guess I'll try to find a way of putting it in here somewhere. Anyway, so what I'm doing today, and now that I don't have the picture to look at, because now I have to keep my iPad on here or I will get all slowed down by seeing if you're making comments or not. So here we are. This is Blueberry. Blueberry is a rescue. She was abandoned at a sanctuary, and now by the grace of God, she's mine. So now when I come to a painting and I've got the basic objects, that's what this book, I'm not sure if you had audio when I was doing this, but this was a highly prized book that was recommended to me. It's actually quite hard to find. Painting Light and Shadow in Watercolor, and it's by William B. Lawrence. I can already see, I've only gotten to page 5, and I can tell you exactly why it's so highly prized, because I've learned more in the foreword. I believe that's what they call you. I'm not a very educated, formally educated person myself. Oh, the introduction. I learned more in the introduction than I've learned from most books. So I definitely recommend this book to you. There is a picture in here. Ah, there it is. Let me see. And this is it. This is my barn. We have a farm now, and one of my primary desires to live here on this farm was that it inspired me of the American dream that I always had as a child. So it's just amazing. And when I saw this picture, I knew I was supposed to paint today. So talk about starting backwards. So I'm using, this is a mono Tombow eraser. This is a brand of eraser that they recommend. The particular type of eraser that they said this was to the art community, I couldn't, it escapes me, but we know it as a wonderful nylon type-ish eraser that takes marks away without leaving too much debris behind. And this one got an excellent mark. So the Tombow plastic eraser is very good. I'm using a, what do they call this? This is the Mushy Eraser. This one I believe is from Prismacolor, I believe. So we're using this, and this is going to help lift heavy marks that I don't need. And if you, it's sticky and it just sucks the lines up into it, and you just mush it. You press it down like putty, and it will lift some of the graphite. Funny, one of the things that I didn't like about these types of erasers is that I would get so caught up in removing the lines that my entire subject would be gone. That's just how it rolls, with me anyway. One thing I found also that's pretty important is having a brush that isn't worth much to just be available to just brush off what you might have with little specks and stuff. And don't use my hands. I would put so much oil from my hands on my paper that it would mess everything up. So now, do I know what I'm going to use today? Not really. I'm using, this is also a very highly recommended, just a simple number 2 HB pencil by Dixon Ticonderoga. Yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, these are really good pencils. They recommend them, so I got them a long time ago when I thought I was supposed to draw. So, and they're also really highly priced for watercolor. Yes, that book is amazing, and it's very hard to find. I wish I could tell you it's easy to find. It's not, and it's incredibly expensive. It's out of print. And so if you could put a search in on eBay, that's what I would recommend you do. So now I know that my picture is in my iPad across the way, and if I want to see my comments, I can't see them if I look at the picture, which goes back to what I was talking about before. I was thinking that I really should. It's the first time I'm going to be using these pencils, these brushes. They're by Tracy Lebizon. They're too costly. It often makes me wonder if I should really use them, which is awful. I don't think I'm going to use them because this is just plain. So let's go with my Da Vinci 3. This is Squirrel, I believe. We'll start there because clearly I don't know what I'm doing. So I just want to make sure that I have you in the picture. Oh, I don't. Oh my, I'm so glad I checked. I wanted to raise the picture up a little bit, but it was too tight on the Archon mount, so I wasn't able to do that. So now let's just start painting, shall we? Gosh, I talk a lot. Actually, that's a podcast that I'm going to be starting too. Isn't that funny? She Talks a Lot. That's the name of the YouTube channel. She Talks a Lot. I haven't done anything with it yet, but I know I'm supposed to do it. Girl's a mess. That's me, folks. This girl is a mess. Okay, so I'm not sure if I had audio before to show you. I'm going to be using a Richardson palette. It is one of the palettes that the artist that I'm following, which is Bridget O'Connor, she uses this palette. I have matchy-matchy syndrome, which means I have to get everything the person I'm learning from has. I also need in order to go forward. I don't know. So I'll be using, this is ultramarine blue. We're going to be using some yellow ochre, probably some, I believe that's, let me see. I have to look at my chart. Sherry, if you don't know me, I have multiple sclerosis, so I do apologize if I repeat my things multiple times. Look, I said I was sorry again. Isn't this crazy? What is that? Okay, if you click the 3 little dots in the chat window, you can take the chat out, and then you can put it over the top of your picture. I can do that? Well, but this is on an iPad. There's no dots, so I don't know how I would do that. But oh my gosh, wouldn't that be fun? Okay, I'm reaching over, and I want to show you, I'm sure, Sherry, you must know this, but when you set up a palette, you often forget which paint is in each well. So it's good practice to make yourself a color map, if you would. And so I have, which is amazing because I actually remembered to write down what that yellow is. So you just count up on the whales on the side. So it totally makes me who I am. You have lupus. Oh my. Yes, I'm sorry. Golly, I'm so sorry. That's worse than this. I have it so easy compared to so many people. Even people with multiple sclerosis, I have it so easy. All I am is a ditz. I'm just a ditz. That's really it. I need an alarm for everything. Basically, I'm exactly the same as my 90-year-old mother-in-law. And yeah, I'm just got a really old brain. So, okay, let's move forward. Let me see what this paint, I'm trying not to trail off. So we have raw umbers down here. We have burnt umber is the next one up on that. And then we have burnt sienna. And this is yellow ochre. Now, yellow ochre and and yellow ochre, I believe, on her primary palette, but it was out that day when I made this, and I have to fill them in as you go. This is recent, that's why it's in pencil. So yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is a pigment that is not so luminous because it does have a darker opacity. So we'll see. I don't see myself using much other than the either the ultramarine blue. We know we're going to use that. I actually have some on my palette over here, so I'm not sure if anyone wants to see this, but I have my little water, and I'm going to wetten this up. Wetten, that's not even a word. So, and I'm kind of a person who doesn't like to waste things, and I've been told that's not very, you know, something, if you can't afford to paint, then don't, some people say. I am not of that school. I am of the school of I am not wealthy. I need to take good care, and one of the reasons I don't paint more is because the watercolor paper is so expensive. It's insane. Looking over to my color map over to my right, I'm looking for a way to tone down my ultramarine blue. Now this is a very small little picture. I tend to get overwhelmed if I'm not using a small, not a picture, but a small space of watercolor paper. Okay, so I've done the mix of the watercolor blue, ultramarine blue, and the alizarin crimson. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse out my brush a little bit. And I have a towel that's underneath my palette, which is also the practice that Bridget recommends you do. And I have a clean and I have a dirty well of water, which is, again, good practice. Okay, so now I'm going to go over, I'm going to get some water on my brush, and I'm going to go over to the yellow ochre. Which is over here. I'm going to go get some. I am not using fresh watercolor paint. I have already put them in the wells. I do understand that in the future, when I take myself more seriously with my painting, I will use fresh out of the tube. However, I do not take myself very seriously right now. And so, yes, I am going to use what's already on my palette, which Bridget calls mud, and is completely acceptable. She really does a great job of making me feel validated, because I do some things that I think some people might not want to do. So yeah, there's that. Another thing is I really had a problem with using the paint because, again, because of cost. But after a while, you just have to dive in. So now I've been learning also from Hake artists. People use Hake brushes, which is amazing. But again, a trail off. Toning down the yellow ochre now with some of that ultramarine blue. So I know that the type of clouds I want are going to be, the picture that was here before was mostly blue. It was a mostly blue sky. So I'm going to stick with that, even though I can't see the picture. And they even say, a lot of people who will say that it's actually better if you don't necessarily stick so close to the picture, so you can have more fun. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to see if we can have more fun. So now, wet unto wet is the goal for me today. So I'm going to take a 30 Da Vinci. Do I need one this big? No. Did I buy it and want to use it? Yes. This is about enjoying what I do. And I'm just having fun today. I just figured I'd bring you along and hopefully have some fun with other people. So, okay, I'm just going to take my watercolor brush and I'm just going to get this nice and wet. I have put the paint over on my brush, putting it down now. And it's pretty funny, I'm doing it backwards right now. Oh. Okay, let's see. Now, again, this is just a little itty bitty, and that's okay. I get overwhelmed by big paintings, and I really honestly just need to work on brush strokes. And I oftentimes, which is also part of my my real problem with school, was that I always, especially art school, by the way, I'm an artist. I was an excellent artist, actually, very good with drawing. However, I never really felt the need to follow along with the teacher. I would always do it on my own. That's not a good thing, folks. So I'm just having fun now, and you get to have fun with me. Now, I seem to remember that there was a lot of blue up here, and just for the sake of having just a little bit more interest around the barn, I'm going to see about maybe doing a little line here. Got a nice little thing. I've been doing a lot of cloud studies and such from my phone. And it was really mostly blue sky. So I just need to come around and just do it. Again, something that I struggle with, just doing things. So, okay, so we have a lot of blue, and that's good. I like the blue. I know that down here was a lot of blue also, so we're going to drop in some more blue. It gets really light, so that'll just have to do. And again, I just really struggle with this sort of stuff. I don't know why. It's just me. I struggle with a lot of things, actually. Okay, so I think that's, again, pretty efficient. And watercolor wet on wet is supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to be fun, and we're supposed to enjoy ourselves when we do it. So now some of these things you're going to want to soften and help it out. And I saw that also on several artist channels that I'm following right now. And so that's what I'm going to do. This is probably going to need to be softened just a little bit. When you do wet and wet, you have to work pretty fast. So I'm going to see if I can lift some of that out. And I don't really need all that, but that's going to help with the shadows for my horse there. Let's go ahead and soften this up. It's already drying. The air conditioning's on. So if I, now I'm not supposed to be using a dry necessarily brush to do this. So that was wrong. And I think maybe Tracy needs to quit doing that. I don't know what that is. That's going to be pretty intense, isn't it? Okay, got that out. Okay, so now obviously, if I am going to utilize what I've learned from the books, I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to look. And I'm going to see my horse. And I'm going to see that this is a little bit of a hard line. So we're going to probably try to soften that a little bit. We don't really need that because this is going to be by your head. These are happy accidents, they say. So I'm going to leave that because that could be grass or a highlight. And I can see that there's a deep cloud here. That's okay. It was an overcast day. And it really doesn't matter because this is my sky today. So yeah. Okay, so now I've done such a good job, I can't hardly see my barn, but that's okay too. I'm going to, I think I'm going to go to a smaller brush now. I'm going to go to, let's see. I don't really need a long round. I would like a round. Let's just use the Sterling Edwards, nothing fancy. Let's go for an 8. Yep, that's an 8. Okay, so these are Sterling Edwards brushes. I've had them forever. Wet the brush. Give it a good soak. And so I have this barn here. So I'm going to, let's see, the brick was, I believe I'm going to use some, let's see, this is burnt sienna. I think it was alizarin crimson made a nice brick color with a little bit of ultramarine. Yes, it does. In fact, do that. So, and now I'm looking at my brush and I'm saying that's too small. I'm going to be fiddly. Okay, so we're gonna rinse that brush out and we're gonna say that's too small, which is how Tracy does things. She works backwards. And as Sherry pointed out, I guess it's just how I do it. Okay. So now I'm going to be using a number 14 because I think I need to get out of the habit of using such a small brush because I will get fiddly. Okay, there's my barn. Okay, so let's just drop some color in the barn. I don't have my picture to look at it, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. I'm just kind of waiting until I find my barn. And I remember, oh, there it is. Is that it? I hope you're not seeing my head. Let me see. Oh, I see it. Okay, that's good. Okay, good. So now that's my barn. I found it. Okay, so there's my barn. Take a little bit more water, put a little more water on it, and I'm just gonna get rid of that. That's just, and I like that. That's what they call happy accidents. That's okay. That's like a dry brush effect, which is okay. And let's see, I am going to work down here. So I'm going to take some of my ultramarine blue. I'm not a teacher, by the way, I'm just having fun. I'm going to take some Indian yellow, my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to go ahead and make some greens for the pasture, which was a spring day, I believe, or getting into spring. And again, I can't emphasize enough, I am not a teacher or am skilled enough to teach. I simply am having fun, and I'm bringing you with me to have fun. So this is a pretty wet brush, so I'm gonna try this technique. They say, oh, this is pretty wet to do this, but that's okay. I've been told that these are the things that happen that add interest, so we're just gonna do it. Just gonna do it. We're gonna leave that there. That's going to be something interesting eventually, and so will this right here. This could actually be something that I can do, add after it's done some drying time, and I can work with that. So that's excellent. So that's okay. So I'm learning with you. So right here, this is another thing that I'm going to leave alone because I've been listening so much to so many different artists where they say just leave it. And this is all going to be interest right here. This is going to be bushes and all kinds of things. It's all going to be good. So we're going to leave that. Just that simple. I know it's hard to understand how that could be good, and it is definitely understand because I just want to mess this all up and almost like I have a coloring book, so that's not what I'm supposed to do. So now I have learned something. My toolbox over here, let me see, I have a lot of tools which are very helpful, but I do struggle with value. It's not something that I do well. So over the years, whether it be using Copic markers, don't even get me started. I did go to the Copic markers. Yes. So this is what they call a grayscale value finder. It's very useful for me because I struggle with this. But again, I looked at this and I'm like, well, what? I don't understand. What is the big deal? And then yesterday I was in the car. I think we were in the car. Oh no, it was the day before. We were going somewhere, farm and home, I think. And I was looking at the sky, and I know this might be hard for someone to understand if you're not a Christian, but if you are as close to the Lord as you can possibly be, and I mean that is your intention, to be as close to the Lord as you can be, he can really teach you in real time. So I was looking up at the clouds, and he showed me how values are supposed to be used. So I was looking at the clouds, and he showed me that the white of the cloud is actually the furthest away, and as you increase the value of a painting, it's closer. So and that might sound elementary to most people, and I understand that. But to myself, it was a very difficult concept for me to wrap my head around. So that made me just feel a sense of relief that I now understand. So what I learned with the clouds is that you'll find, let me see if I can, I don't dare use my pencil. If you look at this cloud here, you're going to see that this value is at the highest. Is it the highest? Yes, the highest value is here, 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 and and of course Blueberry is actually gray, but you know, she's a warmer value than, you know, than this white, this high white, which would be value 10 on this scale. So what you do is you'd use this and you'd hold it over where you're looking, and this would most likely be a value 10, which would be white, the white of the paper. So now with that understood, and you go down my card here, and you'll find if you want to be really specific and make this cloud really pop, you're going to go slow and you're going to build up each value to make it really appear to be three-dimensional, and that's what I'm going to attempt to do. So now what I have to do is I have to make, I'm going to use, I really like these, they call them Perit Gris Pur. Don't know what that means, but that's what it says here. This one is by Raphael. This was a 3. That's what I used to what I really like these brushes, and I'm not quite sure why, but I really like them. I like them even better. This is a mix of synthetic and natural hair, so this is going to give you more control, and it won't make the water go all crazy. Okay, so I'm going to be using this 0 by Raphael, and I'm going to wet my brush, and not too wet, but not too dry. And I'm going to see if I can look on my palette here. This is a many artists are very much in favor of using the mud that you already have on your palette. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to take my value card, and I'm going to see if I have a value on my palette that I like, and I like that one. That one's okay. So I'm going to work with that mud. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to just wake it up with a little water. Not too much, because you don't want back runs. Back runs get you into trouble. But again, this is just such a little painting that I'm doing. I think I can work with that. Okay, so again, I'm working for a value in this area here. You don't want to do all the values because that would be too busy. So let's see what that does. So I'm going to get some water. And I'm just going to see if I can just kind of make a little area here. Oh yeah, and I'm too nitpicky, so I just need to do that, and maybe definitely do that over here. Then I'm going to get more water because I don't use enough water. Dab it on my towel next to me, and I'm going to make it less. Not enough water in my paint. I've been told this numerous times. This is watercolor. You need water. So there's that, there's that. Okay, there's that. I kind of liked that. I should have left it alone, but that's okay. Bygones. Can't do everything. So ultramarine blue and burnt sienna make a lovely gray. So I'm going to start working up there. See where that takes me. Just going to drop some, drop some, drop some. See what happens. And so we have some in those darker clouds, and again, if it's close to us, it's going to be darker. So let's go here, let's do this. These are all going to be a darker type of a sky over here, and it's good. And now, so we don't want to make blueberry the same dark. I have to leave this alone. I cannot keep working in this. And that's okay. So I'm just going to wipe my brush on the towel that I have under my palette. I'm just going to soften that. That's another big thing that Bridget has taught me how to do, is soften. And you do that by a wet brush and just dabbing around where you see a hard line. Okay, I'm actually pretty excited about that. I would like to get rid of this one right here. Okay, that's gone. Okay, this is a little wet up here and it's a little hard, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get rid of that. All right, I like it. kind of like that. That's okay. Okay, this is a little wet. Probably would have liked it not to be as wet, but that's okay too. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get a little bit of a darker value. See if I can work with that. And just drop this pigment in here. We'll see what turns out there. I don't think we have enough burnt sienna in here, so I'm going to go a little deeper. Get some more burnt sienna with my ultramarine blue. And you know what also is quite unnatural for me is talking when I'm working. I don't do that. I usually work very quietly. In fact, with no sound at all. I was listening to the podcast of Lyron and one of his guests before I started this live. Okay, so it looks like I've got the tone I want. So now I want to dab my brush, get some of that wet off, and I want to drag that and put that in there. Not too much water though. If I have too much water, it'll make a background. I don't want that. Basically, I'm just parroting what I have found helpful that I've learned by other artists. Again, this cloud is still too wet. I don't know how to fix that, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can't lift some out. That's something else that I've learned is to lift. So I'm going to really make sure that this brush is just really dry. Let's see if I can't lift some effects out of this. Okay, that worked. Lift a little bit more. You could also go in with your paper towel and lift. I don't like that straight line, so let's get rid of that. I want it to be more natural. Use our paper towel. These are, again, working backwards. That's how a troubled, damaged brain works. So let's go with that. If anything I've learned by being a Christian is to be humble. And so I am. I actually really liked that cloud. It didn't turn out so bad. That one's still kind of wonky though. All right, that one's not bad either, but it was a little wet, and that's okay. It's an opportunity to lift, to practice what I've been learning. Great. Okay, let's go back to my barn. And I think that that brush, that 14, was quite strong and quite big, but I'm going to go back with it because I need control. So now I do have this this side shoot of my barn, so I'm just going to drop that in there here. And I'm going to quickly come behind and I'm going to just go whoosh and get rid of that. And I'm going to bring up the value a little bit more just by brushing. Just like that. And I'm supposed to leave that. I'm supposed to look at this and I'm supposed to say, hey, that's not bad. Okay. I don't see how, but I'm learning. This is the dry brush stroke I'm supposed to get into using more. So I'm trying to see if I can get myself to do that. We'll see. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. I must have had too much water, and that's okay. So we're supposed to leave that. Okay. So let's get some more ultramarine. See if we can get that. Oh, that turned purple quick. So we need more of that. That's why you should really, I'm starting to understand why they say use your mud. Because the colors you've been using, oh, that's another thing. So I also never understood what they meant by unifying a painting. I never really understood that very well. And then I think I got what they were trying to say. They're trying to say that clearly that doesn't look like it should. Too much water. But that's, again, that's okay. Just gonna go with it. They always say practice, and that's something I never liked to do in art class, and that's why I failed every art class. I would not practice. I would find a way to figure out what was the picture that she was trying to get us to do, and I would simply do it. But I never practiced how I got there. I just made it happen, so that's not good. Okay, so I dropped a little bit more pigment under here. I like that. And I'm gonna just maybe do one little line. Bridget is trying to show me less strokes. I've heard that by Laron. I've heard that by many people. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave my barn. So, okay, I'm not gonna do much. I'm gonna leave it. I've got some nice effects up here. I'm gonna leave it alone. So now we're gonna go back to my horse, and I'm gonna rinse off my brush. Now, because I have a perfectionist mind, I will look at this right now and I'll say, that doesn't look like my horse, and yeah, I'll do that to myself. So I'm gonna go back to my value finder, and I'm gonna go remember what my horse looks like, if I can find her a little. There she is, she's right there. And I know that she's, I'm gonna go back to my palette, I'm gonna go back to my mud, and I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna say she's somewhere in this value over here, because I want her to be here, and people don't know what she looks like, so you're just gonna go with it, and you're just gonna do what you need to do to get the feel and the depth that you want. And I need to practice that, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna practice, and you get to watch me practice. So the fewer the brush strokes, the better. So we're gonna go here and up, we're gonna go here, try to bring her body together, here. Okay, and then there was this here. We're gonna bring this down for her front leg, and then we're going to make her back down, and then her rump, and then her leg. And we're just gonna go like that. Now, the thing that I didn't understand is that people are gonna understand by these crude shapes what I was trying to do. They're gonna understand this is a horse. And there's a part of me that wants to show them all of the horse. And you can't do that. You gotta let the mind show them it's a horse. And I don't have a problem with this here. Actually, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Because again, they say interest is very important. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna leave it be. And this is her horse back, her arm or her leg right here. We're gonna leave that there. And again, because I'm gonna be doing probably some weeds around her, I'm okay with that. I don't mind that. That's interest. They're gonna understand that this is a horse. Their brain is going to show them it's a horse by some of the subtle things that I've included. And I'm supposed to let them think. Add a little bit, maybe add a little bit of me in there, because that's me. And I'm gonna rinse my brush. Now, as I've told you in previous videos, she is a rescue. She is not completely white. She is a what they call a flea bitten. So she's not perfectly white, and I was previously painting her as she was perfectly white, and she's not. Now, I don't know if you're just starting out painting, but they say when you want to take water out of the belly of your brush, which is this little fat part here, you need to take a paper towel or a towel and go to the very end of the belly, and that will take the not the pigment, but the water off. So now that I have my horse, I'm going to introduce a somewhat brighter green. And I'm gonna do something here, and let's see if it's dry enough so I can see if I can do some rougher brush marks. I can. Okay, so I managed to do that. That's good. So we're just gonna be doing some of this and some of that. Okay, so that is going to tell people that this is grass. And that's what I want. I want to show them that's grass. So I'm gonna come over here, and I'm gonna flick, 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 flick. Just to give them the idea and give it some pigment. to imply that it is in fact grass. I'm not supposed to do it everywhere. I was going to leave this over here because this was supposed to be something that caused interest in my painting. No matter how hard it is for me to actually wrap my head around why. Because ultimately I can't tell what's right until it's already wrong. That sounds awful, but it's totally true. I don't know what's correct or right until I've messed it up. And I'm trying to follow what I've been told to do instead of doing what I've been doing. Okay, so I've now added what I think will help someone see that this is grass in a field. It's good. So now I can come up in my value because she's closer than this barn. So I've tried to, maybe I need to darken her just a little bit more because they're kind of equal in value, I guess you'd say. It's also hard for me to see value in colors. I mean, these little helps are really great, but they don't help me by, when I look at colors. Okay, wait, maybe it is helping me. Hold on. So if this here to here, if I'm looking to see which is darker, I would say the barn is darker. And that means it's closer than my horse, which isn't right. We need to make the horse a little, instead of the colors that nature gives, you know? Like I see pinks and stuff. I think that's wild. I love that. But I guess my mind is just so cynical, or I don't know, specific. It just doesn't seem to understand why you do that. But let's see if I can not put too much water, but kind of soften this up a little bit. I'm just trying to make my horse stick out a little bit more. So let's go for some red because, you know, I'm all about it. But oh wait, I'm not supposed to do that. Hold on. We're coming out of unity right now. We don't want that. We want unity. So we're supposed to use colors. And this is her forward leg. So this is actually needs to be darker. And so this is her forward leg over here, off her hock over here. So we're gonna have to add some. Here. That's okay. Okay. So now I'm gonna soften it. I've rinsed my brush and I'm gonna soften it a little bit. Try not to put too much water on so that it makes a mess. But messes are fun. When we were kids, we used to make messes to have fun. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to learn. Okay, so we need to make her tail a little bit more, well, it's not quite as out of whack like that, but I'll work it out. They know that's a tail. So this would be what I think Bridget would call an abstract in a way, sort of. We'll see. Okay, so what I've done is I've darkened the value of my horse so that my horse will appear closer than my barn. That's what I needed. I needed to darken up my horse. So let's continue to do that. Without going too far, because that would make the horse look flat, as Bridget would teach me. Don't do it too much, because you'll make her go flat. Okay, so I think that's going to have to do. We do have just a little bit of a, something I admire about our barn is the shape of our barn. I really admire that. It gets my attention, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I also do have a neutral tint on my palette, but by following Bridget O'Connor, it's much more interesting to, if you have the colors, to make your grays out of the colors you're using, and that's what I'm going to do. Now I have introduced a little bit of a different color, and I'm probably going to regret it because it's going to stick out, so I'm not going to use it. I'm going back. Now if you listen to any of Bridget's teaching, she'll do that. She'll adjust. Okay, that's all I needed there. Just that one little swipe. It's going to understand, they're going to understand that that's actually a barn window. And I know that there's barn windows down here also, so let me just go ahead and do that too. And we'll add another one here. There's my barn windows, so they're going to see that and they're going to know. So now I know also have a little bit of a shadow here. That'll do. And maybe extend it a little bit. Good. And I'm going to leave that hard edge because I want them to know what that is, and that's okay because it is a straight line. I've heard that you're supposed to look for hard lines and also soft in a painting. My gosh, that was quite deep. That's okay. I'm going to wet my brush. And just work with what you got. That's much softer. I like it. I actually like this. I don't see a problem with that. This is a little dark. I'm not particularly fond of that, so I'm going to see if I can just take off some of that pigment. There we go. And watercolor will dry much lighter, so try to remember that when you're doing it, which is something I do not do well, so I will try to do better. Now, I believe that the sunlight is coming from this direction. I do not have a proper shadow. I'm going to make just a little bit of a shadow here. I'm going to wet my brush and I'm going to blot it off, and then I'm just going to go and I'm going to soften that so it's not a hard line. And there's probably going to be, because the sun's behind the barn, it would make sense that there would be another. So let's wet my brush, dab it on my towel, and just run my brush alongside to soften it a little bit. I like it. That worked well. Let me see if it's too late. Let me see if I can soften this a little bit too. I can. That's great. I feel better about that. And again, my primary focus of my painting is always going to be my horse because that's the subject that I love. And yeah. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my brush and I'm going to go into my mud, because that is what I was trying to say before. I was trying to say that watercolor harmony is something that I never understood before. I really didn't understand it at all. And what I think, if I have it correct, is that watercolor harmony is using the same colors throughout your entire painting, which kind of is different from what I was trying to do before with the other techniques with the rainbow colors and stuff like that, and that's like super fun and I like it, but it's not what I'm going for right now. Let me soften this up a little bit, get rid of that just by one swipe, bring it that way. Good. And this is an old barn, so I don't have to worry about it looking perfect. That's okay. Dried my brush a little bit more. See if we can clean this up a little bit. Don't mess with it, Tracy. That's what I'm telling myself right now. And again, it's going to dry, and that's okay. Now, I also learned that we're supposed to be using tools like credit cards, so which this is a much better use for this credit card than me using it. So I'm going to do that. Let's see if I can make some lines so they'll understand that it is in fact wood. Or maybe I should do more dragging, maybe. I'm not sure. Also depends on what the watercolor paper is that you're using, how tolerant it's going to be. That's okay. It's an old barn. That to me tells me it's an old barn just by the cracks. So we're going to leave that. And this here, I will really need to master the dry brush effect so I can get some of that really nice color. I'm going to go up here, and I think this is a Queen Gold up here on my palette. Right up here. And I'm gonna try to get it as dry as I can. And I'm gonna also get some of my ultramarine over here and more burnt sienna, because I want to try to get a little redder. See what we can do here. Have to be careful not to put too much interest there. And that is not a dry brush. So again, I'm just trying to practice with you. It's kind of hard to figure out what the strokes are that people are telling me I need to get better at. Oh, that's better. You know, there's so little pigment and water in this brush, it's almost like, it seems like, why bother? This is dry brush. So it's pretty much hardly any paint. It seems strange to my mind that it would be no paint. I don't know. Okay, so I'm using, probably this brush is probably not well suited for that. And it's not like I don't have enough brushes to choose from. So let me just clean this off. I'm going to put this on my stand. I want to point this out. This is actually a pretty neat little cheap thing I got on Amazon. It's supposed to be some sort of makeup stand or a brush for your makeup to stand on, and I'm just using it for my watercolor brushes because I can't afford to buy, or, well, yes, I can't afford to buy something better. So yeah. So okay, I'm cleaning my brushes. Taking care of your brushes is incredibly important. You must do it. You paid money for them. Treat them nicely. Just cleaning my brush and getting some of that water out of it. I'm going to put it on my stand because I need to do that right away or I will forget. I'm going to put my brushes back so I can take care of them or I'll forget to do it. So now I want to do something here. I'm going to use I think it was a rigger. I've got, that's not a rigger, that's a very small brush, but it's not a rigger. Oh, thank you, Sherry. That means more than you know. I'm trying to get a rigger so I can try to add some more detail down here with a darker green. Going to my mud again. Mud on my palette. So to unify a painting, you're supposed to use colors that you have used in other parts of your painting. I did not know that before, but now I do. Don't want to go too dark, but if I just go off the mud on my palette, I'm inevitably going to be pretty close. So now this is a rigger. This is a 2 rigger by Creative Mark by Mimic. That's the line. I'm going to see if I can't get some of these grasses stand out just a little bit more. Just little wigs and wags and wigs and wags. See if I can't. Oh, I like that. That worked well. And you're not supposed to do it everywhere. You're just supposed to do it when you want them to see it up close. So this is the close part. As far as distance to me, and will help them understand that right up here is closer. And yet you can't use too many flicks because then it looks too forced. So let's see if I can, this is a pretty dry brush, so I'm going to try to see if I can, oh wow, that worked. It's so fascinating to me that a medium like this with an itty bitty little brush can do that. Look at that. I think I try to put way too much detail. It's very difficult for me to let go and just have fun. I don't know what the name of that is, what kind of thinking that is, but I struggle with that. Again, what I said before, humidity is not my problem. I've got a lot of humidity. I said humidity, I meant humility. Ah! Girl. Okay, so anyway. I am who I am. As Papa used to say, I am who I am. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit more here. Again, I've mentioned I am not a trained teacher. I do not claim to be. I'm going to go into some Azo yellow over here. And I might get in trouble with that because I have been using my greens for my ultramarine blue, so I'm not going to use that. I've changed my mind. Bridget has shown me that. actually works quite well. She often, when she's teaching, Bridget O'Connor, she'll often say when she's mid point doing something, if she likes it or if she doesn't, and if she doesn't, she stops. And it seems like a simple thing, but you need to give yourself that understanding that if you just don't like the way something's turning out, just stop. And I think this is the first fun I've ever had painting. And I've been painting for a really long time.
I know.
Okie dokie. Come here, Abby. Okay, that was my husband. He's gonna go take a nap. So I'm probably gonna end up getting a little quieter. He has earplugs though, so. Okay, so the shadow, the sun's coming from this way, so she's probably going to need a shadow here and here. So let's see if we can go onto my mud and drag a. One thing else I've figured out is that knowing your complementary colors will help you. And I know this is really green, so I'm going to go get some burnt sienna because I've used burnt sienna in this painting. So I'm going to get darker. I'm going to keep going darker until I find the shadow that I like. I'm going to go back into my ultramarine. It's just, you got to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. All right, that's decent. So I'm going to just give her a little shadow here, a little shadow here. This is going to be her belly, so this should all be really shadow right here. Probably need just a little bit more water. I'm going to pick up that color. Where did I just put it? It's over here. This is going to be her shadow. That's enough to suggest shadow. We got this like over here. This one's in front, so this is going to be longer shadow. Good. It just seems so strange to do so little and make so much sense. That's the shadow. That just amazes me. Anyway, so I'm going to rinse my brush, I'm going to dry it on my towel, and I'm going to go and see if I can help get some of this a little bit more detail, maybe here. Just a little bit, not much. Just a little bit. Well, that was the right value right there then. I can just tell. And I really did did too many of the same shape, and that's not gonna be interest. That's actually not gonna work out. Let me go back in and get some more of that darker pigment. This could pretty much be anything. I mean, after all, it is a farm. Okay. I actually think that might be done. I mean, that's really high value. That really doesn't need to be that high in value. So I'm gonna try to fill this in a little bit better just by filling it in so that the white is a little bit more colored. Now my paper has had some time to dry. It shouldn't really explode if I come in here and I just do simple brush marks. Fill this in. So now this white is going to be glazed over. This is what they call glazing. Just using my synthetic natural blend because I need control. Before I do anything else, I'm just going to call it done. Because I look at it now and I can see the qualities I was trying to get. Trying to get that I'm trying to get someone's mind to see that this is a barn. I think I've established that. It's in a field. I've established that. There's a lot of sky. Probably could add some more green over here. I could do that. Going back to my mud. Seeing I can do that. Okay. So that implies that there's land here. That's okay. I really think that's it. If I do any more, I don't have enough what can I say? I don't have enough experience to know what to do next. Kind of like to put some rocks here, but again, I'm trying to be cautious because I think I've actually done what I set out to do, was to try to make a picture of my horse, Blueberry, without doing too much, and still keeping the watercolor effect. I think that's okay. I'm gonna stop. Okay, I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to be able to share content on this platform. I'm grateful for everyone who will watch this video, and I'm especially thankful to my Lord Jesus Christ, who gave me these gifts and the technology to share them. I guess that's it, folks. That's all I'm going to do today. So I'm going to clean up here, and I hope you all have a blessed day. I guess that's really it. Thank you so much, Sherry, for being here. And this will be available online once I log off. And yeah, so I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that you're blessed. Bye-bye.